caught up with the former vice president in one of his favorite spots, drifting down the South Fork of the Snake River in Idaho.
Swimming in.
Fly rod in hand, matching wits with the trout.
Nice. Got him.
What'd you get?
Cutthroat. Yeah. No matter what other worries or problems you may have or dealing with, you really focus on what you're doing and put all your other cares aside. They don't count as much when you're out here.
Not too long ago, this kind of retirement for Dick Cheney, not far from his home in scenic Jackson Hole, Wyoming, looked pretty iffy. His failing heart used to get almost as many headlines as he did. But in 2012, this grandfather of 7 got a heart transplant, and suddenly everything changed.
I just was back in for my 3-year checkup. It's nothing short of miraculous.
At 74, he's regained the look of his days in office, reminders of which popped up again last month with the release of these previously unseen photos. They were taken on September 11th, 2001, showing Mr. Cheney first dealing with the crisis in the White House bunker, then being whisked away to that now famous undisclosed location.
It was a remarkable day, a tragic day in terms of the loss of life and the extraordinary set of circumstances we had to face with.
And a day that shaped one of the most controversial vice presidencies in history. How'd that day change you personally? Not from a policy standpoint, but change you?
Well, it's been alleged by some of my friends that 9/11 did change Cheney, that when he was a Secretary of Defense in the first Bush administration, he was a warm, pleasant, lovable fellow, and he became more of a hard rock afterwards. And I think it's probably true. It changed the way I looked at the world.
The way he looks at the world is pretty well known by now. Dick Cheney is unapologetically hawkish.
The rest of our troops in Iraq will come home by the end of the year.
He was an early critic of the Obama administration's national security policy, especially the troop withdrawal from Iraq and Afghanistan.
The mindset is hard for me to understand. I think we have to recognize that it's a dangerous world, that it's more dangerous than it has been before, and that those threats out there we're faced with are increasing while we strip ourselves of the ability to deal with it.
Mr. Cheney is renewing his criticism of Mr. Obama with the help of his daughter, Liz, a former State Department official and one-time Senate candidate. In their upcoming book, Exceptional, published by Simon & Schuster, division of CBS, they accuse Mr. Obama of retreating from the world's problems, diminishing America's power as the threat of terrorism rises. This is a pretty harsh criticism of a sitting president.
Well, it is a necessary criticism, I think, is the way we both feel about it. That, it's not an attack on him as a person, but it's very much sort of raising the alarm about the policies.
Take, for instance, their criticism of the president's recent nuclear deal with Iran.
With this deal, we cut off every single one of Iran's pathways to a nuclear program.
You say of the deal that the Obama agreement will, 1, lead to a nuclear-armed Iran, 2, a nuclear arms race in the Middle East, and 3, the first use of a nuclear weapon since Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That's a pretty daunting prediction.
I think we say it may well lead to the first use of a nuclear weapon since Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And the reality, as my dad has described, is that this deal makes war more, not less likely.
But think about what kind of a regime it is. They've violated virtually every agreement they've ever been a party to. I don't think they can be trusted. I think they've demonstrated that repeatedly.
The book is an expanded version of an op-ed that Cheney's wrote for the Wall Street Journal last year, where they laid out an argument that many of the GOP presidential hopefuls are now campaigning on. That the rise of the Islamic State is Mr. Obama's fault.
Barack Obama became president and he abandoned Iraq. ISIS was created because of the void that we left.
Are you really laying the spread of ISIS at the president's feet?
I think the spread of ISIS was a direct result of the vacuum that was created when the Obama administration withdrew all forces from Iraq. We turned our backs on Iraq. We had Iraq in good shape. By the time we left office, even Obama said as much.
Initially, it was President Bush who agreed to a troop withdrawal deadline, although he did so reluctantly. Iraq's Prime Minister, Nouri al-Maliki, had objected to the idea of any U.S. troops staying beyond 2011.
Well, you talk about the problem being that there was no stay-behind force, that some would argue that the real problem was that we went into Iraq in the first place.
Well, I'm well known as somebody who strongly defended that. I thought it was the right thing to do, and I still believe that.
It wouldn't change anything.
No. Indeed, there was widespread support at the time, and it was justified.
That support was based largely on the administration's argument that Iraq possessed weapons of mass destruction, an argument that later proved to be wrong. That false premise became a key issue in Mr. Obama's 2008 presidential campaign.
Did the president get any credit for trying, while still recognizing the sacrifice that was made, trying to end two wars that have gone on even longer than you thought they would go on? Does he get any credit for trying to end that?
Well, I gave him credit, for example, when they got Osama bin Laden, I think. But you don't end a war. If you end a war just by walking away from it, that's victory for the other side.
Some of his fellow Republicans, however, are uneasy with the intelligence policies the Cheneys want the next president to bring back, including the enhanced interrogation techniques that a Senate panel deemed torture.
First of all, it wasn't torture. The waterboarding, for example, torture, that was the most egregious thing we did, supposedly, in the enhanced interrogation program. It was the most significant source of intelligence for us that we absolutely had to have, and that was on Al-Qaeda, how big they were, where they were, who their leaders were, what their plans were, and so forth. All of that came out of enhanced interrogation.
What do you say to those who say, yes, perhaps they worked, but we sacrificed our values in the process?
Well, first of all, I don't believe we sacrificed our values. I think the number one responsibility of senior public officials is to safeguard the nation.
Nearly 7 years out of office, Mr. Cheney remains a man not eager to make either apologies or skirt controversy.
You know, if you just nothing but warmth and friendliness and so forth, seriously can't deal with the kinds of issues that I've had to deal with over the years and that I wanted to deal with. It's almost, I think, if you are criticism-free, then you're probably not doing your job.
For his daughter, that unyielding nature is one of the most appealing things about him.
I know of no one who has been more courageous and dedicated and honorable than my dad in terms of being willing to say, this is absolutely what we have to do, this is the right thing to do, you know, and sometimes when nobody else was willing to do it. You know, I know for all of us who love you, the gratitude as Americans that we feel is matched only by our love for him. Don't look at me like that.
Well, no, thank you.
His matter-of-fact veneer almost cracked there for a moment.
What do you think is the most surprising thing about your dad that folks don't know?
That the hitch cover on his pickup truck is Darth Vader.
It is not, is it really?
It is. I don't know who put it on. I haven't found out yet. But,
We checked, and yes, on the back of his black F-350 pickup, it's there. The symbol of the villainous dark side that even became a bit for Jon Stewart's final show.
I am more machine than man, but it has come to my attention you have been comparing me to Dick Cheney. That seems a bit harsh.
So it's a point of pride in some ways for you.
well, in a sense, you have to have a sense of humor about the business.
Dad, this is a nice rod.
Yeah, it is. I just bought it last year.
His guides back on the Snake River often say that Mr. Cheney picks the hardest fish to catch in the toughest conditions. The more challenging, the better. His approach to politics seems just as targeted. And whatever you think of Dick Cheney, he's clearly not ready to hang out the gun fishing sign for good.
What do you want your legacy to be?
Oh, I don't know. I think I'll let the historians worry about that. I feel like I did the best I could under extraordinary circumstances, and I'm satisfied with that.